The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension, the atmosphere heavy with the weight of interstellar politics. Delegates from dozens of species, scaled, furred, metallic, filled the grand, circular hall. Their voices rose in waves of discontent, their tones accusatory as they hurled grievances against humanity. The chair of the council, an immense insectoid being with iridescent carapace plates, slammed a gavel-like appendage to silence the noise. "Order!" The chair's voice reverberated, a metallic hiss that silenced the assembly. "The human species stands accused of violating intergalactic law, mining resources in contested territories, and expanding their reach without approval. Their insolence threatens the balance of this galaxy." The delegates nodded, murmuring agreements. Their towering forms and elaborate dress made them appear regal, powerful, everything they believed humanity was not. "We demand compliance," another delegate added, their voice a deep rumble. "Humanity must immediately cease its operations and submit to oversight, or face the consequences. Non-compliance will be considered an act of war." The council chambers, designed to intimidate, seemed alive with hostility. The walls glimmered with shifting constellations, and the air thrummed faintly, resonating with the latent power of the assembly's combined might. For millennia, the council had maintained order, often through intimidation and sheer technological superiority. Within a smaller observation room adjacent to the chamber, Ambassador Marcus Kane leaned back in his chair, watching the proceedings through a translucent partition. He was unremarkable by human standards, medium build, clean-shaven, with the faint lines of age creeping onto his face. But his calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the fiery rhetoric in the chamber. "Same song, different verse," he muttered, the corner of his mouth twitching upward in a faint smirk. His aide, a young woman named Elena, glanced at him nervously. "Ambassador, they're serious this time. The council has never issued a direct ultimatum like this before." Kane shrugged, his posture relaxed, as though the weight of the galaxy wasn't pressing down on him. "They've issued plenty of threats. We're still here. But this is different," Elena pressed, her voice rising. "They're accusing us of overstepping boundaries, of arrogance." "They're afraid of us," Kane interrupted, his tone even. He tapped his temple lightly. "That's the real issue. They don't understand us, and that terrifies them." The council chair's voice boomed again, demanding humanity's official response. Kane stood, adjusting his suit. Time to make them sweat. As he walked toward the main chamber, his footsteps echoed in the metallic corridors. His thoughts were sharp, focused. Humanity's survival had always depended on its ability to adapt, to outthink adversaries stronger and more advanced. He wasn't about to let that change. The massive doors slid open, revealing the chamber in all its grandeur. Thousands of alien eyes turned toward him, expecting submission, fear, perhaps even desperation. Instead, Kane met their gazes with an easy confidence that rippled through the room like a challenge. The council demanded answers, and they were about to get one they wouldn't forget. Marcus Kane stepped into the center of the Galactic Council chamber, his polished shoes clicking softly against the smooth, obsidian floor. He was the only human present, a solitary figure surrounded by towering alien forms radiating hostility and disdain. The air seemed thicker now, charged with expectation as every alien delegate leaned in, eager to dissect humanity's response. Kane surveyed the room with deliberate calm, his expression unreadable. His gaze flickered briefly to the council chair, whose multifaceted eyes glimmered with malice. Kane allowed the silence to linger, drawing out the tension until even the most stoic among the aliens shifted uncomfortably. "The Human Confederation acknowledges the Council's concerns," Kane began, his voice measured, steady. "And we reject your demands." A ripple of disbelief coursed through the chamber, followed immediately by outraged murmurs. Delegates leaned forward, some clicking mandibles, others emitting guttural growls or electronic whines. The council chair raised one spindly limb, silencing the cacophony with an authoritative gesture. "Ambassador Kane," the chair hissed, its voice cutting through the tension like a blade, "are you aware of the gravity of your words? Defiance will lead to annihilation. Humanity's continued existence hangs by a thread. Kane tilted his head slightly, the faintest hint of a smile tugging at his lips. With all due respect, Chair, humanity's existence has always hung by a thread. We're quite used to it. The room erupted again, this time with a mixture of confusion and frustration. Kane stood firm, hands clasped behind his back, waiting for the noise to die down. "Let me be clear," he continued, his voice cutting through the din. "You accuse us of arrogance, of violating your so-called laws. But what you really fear is that we don't play by your rules. Rules you designed to keep species like ours beneath your heel." The accusation hung in the air like a thundercloud. Some delegates bristled, while others exchanged uneasy glances. "You claim to value balance," Kane pressed on, his tone hardening, "but history tells a different story. The Council has exploited, subdued, and, when convenient, eradicated countless civilizations in the name of order. Yet here we stand, unbroken and unbowed. Perhaps it's not arrogance you despise. It's resilience." The chair's carapace flared, its voice sharp with anger. "Resilience without prudence is folly, Ambassador. You are inviting destruction." Kane stepped closer to the central podium, his gaze unwavering. "Destruction? Humanity doesn't fear destruction. We've faced extinction more times than you can count. And every time, we've come back stronger. We adapt. We endure. We thrive." He paused, letting his words sink in. Then, with deliberate precision, he added, "War isn't something we seek. But if you force it upon us, know this. We've learned from you. We've studied your tactics, your weaknesses, your limits. You may outnumber us, outgun us, but you will not outlast us." The room fell into a stunned silence. Kane turned, his voice low but unmistakably clear. "So, if you think you can intimidate us into submission, Chair, I suggest you think again." The chair narrowed its many eyes, its voice a venomous whisper. "You have 24 hours to reconsider, Ambassador Kane." Kane's response was immediate, his words ringing with quiet defiance. "We don't need 24 hours. Humanity's answer stands." With that, he turned on his heel and walked out of the chamber, leaving behind a silence thick with unease and a galaxy that suddenly realized it had underestimated humanity yet again. Kane strode into the private human delegation chamber, his face a mask of calm resolve. Waiting for him was a small team, scientists, strategists, and military advisors, all looking to him for guidance. Their nerves were palpable, the weight of representing an entire species pressing heavily on their shoulders. General Castor, a grizzled veteran whose uniform was adorned with subtle insignias of Earth's united forces, was the first to speak. "That was one hell of a performance out there, Kane. But the Council's not bluffing. If they move against us, it'll be fast and brutal. We can't rely on bravado to save us." Kane poured himself a glass of water, his movements deliberate. He took a sip before responding, his voice steady. "Bravado isn't our strategy, General. Preparation is. The Council thinks we're reckless, unpredictable, and technologically inferior. Let's keep it that way, until it's too late for them to act." Dr. Lin, a young but brilliant astrophysicist, adjusted her glasses and leaned forward. "Are we really ready for this? The predictive system is still untested in a live scenario. The simulations are promising, but," she hesitated, glancing around the room. "If it fails, we don't have a fallback plan." "It won't fail," Kane said firmly, his gaze locking with hers. "Protocol Phoenix was designed for this exact scenario. The Council operates on outdated assumptions, centralized fleets, rigid hierarchies, and predictable strategies. They don't understand how we think, let alone how we fight." He activated a holographic display, the room dimming as a three-dimensional projection of the galaxy sprang to life. Key locations lit up, each one a potential flashpoint in the looming conflict. "Our advantage isn't just technological," Kane continued. "It's cultural. They see rules as immutable, strategies as fixed. We see opportunities in chaos. That's why Protocol Phoenix isn't just a defense system. It's a statement." The hologram shifted, zooming in on a sprawling asteroid field humanity had quietly fortified. General Castor grunted in approval. So it's true. The system's online. Dr. Lin nodded, her voice gaining confidence. Phoenix is a distributed AI network. It doesn't just react to threats, it predicts them, analyzes millions of variables in real time, and neutralizes hostiles before they can act. It's not just a shield, it's a scalpel. And the Council has no idea it exists, Kane added. They're so used to flexing their muscle that they've stopped considering the possibility of losing. We're about to remind them what it means to face a species that fights like we do. Elena, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. But what happens if we win? They'll regroup, adapt, come back stronger. Kane smiled faintly. Then we'll adapt faster. Humanity's strength has never been in its weapons or its numbers. It's in our refusal to quit, no matter the odds. The room fell silent as his words hung in the air. Finally, Kane gestured toward the hologram. Send the signal to Earth. Phoenix goes live now. If the Council thinks they can intimidate us, they're about to learn the hard way. Humans don't back down. The team exchanged determined glances before springing into action. Within moments, the message was sent. Humanity's final preparations were complete, and for the first time in millennia, the Galactic Council would be facing an enemy it couldn't fully understand or control. The Galactic Council reconvened in the towering chamber, their confidence bolstered by the belief that humanity would either submit or face annihilation. Delegates exchanged whispers of contempt and certainty, their gazes fixed on the central podium where Kane was expected to appear. When he entered, alone and unarmed, the quiet confidence in his stride unnerved even the most hardened among them. The chair wasted no time. Ambassador Kane, the time for defiance has passed. You have exhausted the Council's patience. This is your final opportunity to surrender unconditionally and accept the terms laid before you. Kane stood still, his expression unreadable as he surveyed the room. He allowed the silence to stretch, letting the weight of their words settle before responding. The Human Confederation has already given its answer. We will not comply. The chamber erupted into chaos. Alien voices clashed, some demanding immediate action, others questioning the wisdom of provoking humanity further. The chair slammed its limb against the podium, silencing the outburst. Ambassador Kane, it hissed, you leave us no choice. A demonstration is necessary. Perhaps the destruction of one of your outposts will remind humanity of its place. The holographic display in the center of the chamber flared to life, revealing the image of a human-controlled asteroid base on the edge of Council-monitored space. The chair issued a single command, and a fleet of Council warships moved into position. The display showed the warships preparing to fire, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Kane watched, his face impassive, as the first volley was launched. Beams of light streaked toward the asteroid, their destructive power evident. But before they could reach their target, the beams dissipated mid-flight, absorbed by an unseen force. The warships faltered, their systems flickering, then failing entirely. Within moments, the fleet hung motionless, their weapons and engines rendered useless. Gasps and shouts filled the chamber. Delegates leaned forward, their disbelief palpable. The chair's eyes narrowed, its voice laced with fury. What is the meaning of this? Kane stepped forward, his voice calm but carrying an edge of steel. That chair is humanity's answer. Protocol Phoenix is active. Your weapons, your fleets, they're obsolete. We've rendered them inert, without firing a single shot. The holographic display shifted, showing live footage of Council fleets across the galaxy experiencing the same fate. Ships went dark, weapons systems failed, and communication arrays crumbled under the weight of humanity's invisible hand. You wanted war, Kane continued, his tone growing sharper. But humanity doesn't fight wars on your terms. We don't conquer through brute force or intimidation. We outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast. You thought we were inferior because we didn't have your numbers or technology. You were wrong. The chair struggled to maintain composure, its voice a trembling hiss. You cannot expect to win against the combined might of the Council. Kane smiled, a flicker of something almost playful in his eyes. This isn't about winning. It's about making sure you understand that humanity isn't prey. We are equals, or, if you prefer, adversaries who will always find a way to endure. The room was silent now, the once overconfident delegates grappling with the sudden shift in power. Kane turned his gaze to the chair, his final words cutting through the silence like a blade. We still want peace. But if you force our hand again, we won't stop at disabling your fleets. The choice is yours. Without waiting for a response, Kane turned and walked out, his footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Behind him, the Galactic Council, for the first time in its existence, was left powerless to act.